podcast made by basketball fans for basketball fans. From the hottest takes, news, analysis, and passion for the sport that we all love, this is the Fast Break Pod with Finn James and Will Tremaine. Welcome into the Fast Break Podcast, the podcast made by basketball fans
for basketball fans.
Finn James.
Will Tremaine.
Back again, another episode. We have reached episode 40.
Big landmark.
Wow.
3 months to go, Finn, and we're at a year.
That's crazy.
I did not think that we'd be this consistent, in all honesty.
I think we missed 1 week when I went away to Australia.
Yeah.
And
even when I went to
that was
Australia, we kept
yeah,
it
you
up.
managed to get an episode.
Anyway,
Crazy.
we might have a little break after like the Sal's NBL season's wrapped up.
Yeah, that
possibly.
little window.
But we'll see about that when the time comes around.
Undecided.
Until then, bit of a shorter episode for you guys this week. We're recording on a Saturday, so 2 days before this episode goes up. The Bulls are playing. The Tuatara are playing the Bulls down in Pukekohe tomorrow. I'm going to be going along to the game. Finn, you're still up in the air, possibly.
Undecided.
So yeah, it's a little bit too busy of a Sunday for us, so we thought we'd just record it today on a Saturday. So apologies if some of this news comes across as a bit old by Monday. But we still have a bit to run through. Some NBA playoffs action. Of course, there's been 3 games in the Sal's NBL so far that we'll wrap up. And some big signings in the NBL, the Australian NBL, Finn. So
Crazy.
Let's get right into it. But as we always do, starting off with some world news, Finn. What's been happening?
In terms of some Super Rugby results from Friday night, obviously there'll be 3 more games this evening. But the most important ones were last night. The Chiefs versus the Highlanders, obviously a bit of a banana skin game. The Highlanders finishing last on the Super Rugby ladder. They had a really, really bad year,
They've shown
unfortunately.
flashes, bro.
I saw a stat that most games they lost were within like 10 points. So really unfortunate for Highlanders fans. But the Chiefs got up 41-24, cementing themselves as the top of the table going into the Super Rugby playoffs, which start next weekend. And the Crusaders went over to Canberra and played the Brumbies and got up 33-31 with a last-minute try, courtesy of George Bell. So
They secure second
they're
place.
second place, yeah, which is
Well done.
awesome. Bit of a bounce back year considering how garbage the Crusaders were last season.
It's a shame they'll be first round exits.
I don't know. The Super Rugby playoffs are really confusing this year.
Oh, yes, 6 teams make it through?
Yeah, and there's like a worst,
the top 2
best,
automatically go
worst
through.
look. No, it's not even like that. It's
Yeah.
even more confusing. It's really confusing, and I don't want to dive into it. However, the games this evening, the Blues versus the Waratahs, predicting a pretty easy win for the Blues here at Eden Park. Hurricanes versus Moana. This is a really important game.
For Moana.
If Moana win, they make the 6, and the Blues don't, regardless of the Blues result.
I don't see it happening, bro. After that abysmal showing the other
From
week
the
against the
Chiefs,
Chiefs,
yeah.
I don't see the Hurricanes dropping
Yeah.
this one. But
However, if
who
the
knows?
Blues lose to the Waratahs, which again probably won't happen, then Moana go through regardless. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and the Reds versus the Drua, also a bit of a banana skin game. Drua miss out. The Reds are already in the playoffs. In terms of some other news, the Warriors versus the Rabbitohs tomorrow afternoon. The Warriors went down.
Wait.
The Warriors went down to the Raiders last weekend, sadly, in a very close game in Go Media Mount Smart. But
What about the state of origin as well, Finn? I've seen that started
yeah.
up. Explain to me a little bit how it works, because I've always been a bit confused with state of origin.
you don't know how it works?
Is it like an all-star NRL game?
Essentially, yeah. So it's not based on who you play for. It's based on where you grew up and where you played your childhood club rugby league.
Okay.
So you actually have people from the same NRL team playing against each other in State of Origin,
Oh, damn.
which is really cool.
It's like New South Wales and Queensland, right?
It is New South Wales.
So what
and
if
Queensland.
you're born in New Zealand and raised in New Zealand? You don't have the opportunity to play in...
No, if you're a Kiwi, you can't play in it. So that's why there's only
Not
one.
fair.
Only one Warriors player is in it, and that's Mitch Barnett. He plays for New South Wales.
Okay.
So it's completely based on where you played your childhood footy. So Kalen Ponga, who is actually born in New Zealand, he grew up in Queensland and played his childhood football in Queensland, so he gets to play for Queensland. However, there is like rumours of him returning to play in Super Rugby or things like that, and he could play for the All Blacks if he wanted to, because he's technically a Kiwi. It's really random.
I've got a hypothetical for you,
Go
Finn.
on.
I've seen this floating around a bit. I'm obviously not one to answer it because I'm not the biggest rugby league fan. Would you rather go to a Game 3 State of Origin decider, 1-1 series, or the NRL Grand Final?
NRL Grand Final, 100%.
Clear?
Because the reason why, I don't really care about State of Origin. I think it's very entertaining and I will watch it. However, I have no relation or, dare I say, origin to New South Wales or Queensland.
Yeah, right.
So, like, I watch the game, but I don't support either side because I'm just a neutral fan that likes watching rugby league. So
I feel as though most people like here in New Zealand choose
a lot
a
of
team, though.
yeah, which
You don't have a
baffles
team?
me. No, I really don't. It baffles me that some Kiwis are so diehard, even when they have no connection to either team. It's really random to me. But yeah, game 1 was on Wednesday night. Honestly, it was pretty boring. It was a really low-scoring game. A lot of play in the middle of the park. Quite a few errors, but it was still entertaining. I mean, it's the best of the best going at it, so it was good.
Let's get into some NBL.
Oh, yeah.
There's been a massive... Well, we obviously covered the Bryce Cotton news last week. I don't think there's anybody better that Adelaide could have re-signed to help Bryce Cotton go on a legendary run towards that chip in Adelaide. Who did they sign, Finn? None other than one of your favourite players.
Montrezl Harrell.
Re-sign, I should
on
say.
a 1-year deal to Adelaide.
1 year.
Crazy.
So he's coming for this 1 year to see how he fits with Bryce Cotton. Hopefully win it all. And then, who knows, maybe signs a longer-term deal?
Not sure. I mean, the whole reason he came to Adelaide in the first place, I mean, he had that ACL injury, lost his spot in the NBA, rehabs, comes back. It's like, oh, I'll play in a smaller league, test my craft. Yeah. I think he was only supposed to play, 6 or 7 games for the 36ers.
He stuck around.
Signed for the rest of the season, of course. And then they got knocked out in the play-in tournament. Obviously, they had a really good run, though. It was the best Adelaide had finished in a long time on the back of DJ, Kendrick Davis, and Montrezl Harrell. Really,
Kendrick left. So
Kendrick left to Sydney, of course, which was a bombshell in itself. Montrez was, I feel like, up in the air whether he wanted to return or not. He made it very obvious and was very truthful that he loved his time in Adelaide, though. Despite the dramas off the court with the coaching staff and all the dramas that happened behind the scenes.
I think that news of Kendrick Davis leaving probably made him think, okay, I'm done here. I'm not returning. But then, boom, Bryce Cotton signs with Adelaide. I think that's what the nudge that gave him to re-sign with Adelaide. So you essentially signed 2 players in signing Bryce Cotton and just kept your franchise alive, because without either of those 2 players, sorry, DJ Vasiljevic, you're not getting the job done by yourself.
No way.
But now, as probably the best big 3 in the NBL, they're definitely title contenders. And should we talk about, do you think they're going to win it all, Finn? I think it's between 2 teams for me at the moment.
There is a very, very good chance. Well, it's very hard to say. The rosters aren't complete. The one thing that Adelaide still have, I think, ahead of Sydney is that they still have one more import spot available. So they're probably not done yet.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, the Bryce Cotton signing would have heavily enticed Montrez.
Yeah.
I reckon Montrez would have seen the news, straight to the phone with his agent.
Yeah.
Call up Adelaide. Let's see if we can agree on something. I want to run it back. Because he probably was getting paid a fair amount. He's a former NBA player. You've got to give him a fair penny. I reckon, despite he might have had other good offers around the globe. Who knows? NBA teams probably weren't knocking because he's getting a bit older. But
Europe teams, no doubt.
Who wouldn't want to play with Bryce Cotton?
Yeah.
Is there a single player in the NBL that wouldn't want to play with, arguably the GOAT?
The GOAT. Yeah, I think it's between them and Sydney for me. But I shouldn't write off Illawarra. They are the defending champions. But it will just be interesting to see how that roster shapes out. I don't know, is Trey Kell and Tyler Harvey confirmed to be coming back?
That's a great question.
But I think from the rise that we've seen of Dave O'Hickey in that finals run, and then watching him firsthand balling out for the Auckland Tuatara here for a short time, he's obviously gone back to
Sydney.
NBL East, I think.
NBL
1 East or something. But I don't see how he can't have a starting spot on an NBL team next year.
Oh, he probably
I think he's
will.
got to start.
I think he does.
So I don't know if they bring back both Tyler Harvey and Trey Kell, because they were obviously the reason that he was coming off the bench. So maybe he gets bumped up into the starting rotation, they bring one of those guys back, fill out the spots with a few more imports, and they could be contenders as well. So it'll be interesting.
I feel like it's quite hard to make that prediction yet, though, because a lot of teams haven't made their import signings, and I think we won't see that probably until after Summer League. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the Summer League...
Breakers too.
Breakers in particular, I think, are going to be waiting until after Summer League to pull the trigger on some players. Still waiting on that PJC re-signing. I can't believe that rumor just sprung out of nowhere. It wasn't shut down.
No.
And a few people I saw were saying he's going to come back, he's going to resign. Whether they're still working on that, who knows? I mean, PJC has proven that he is one of the best imports we have ever seen in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And last season, before the downfall, was in first in MVP voting, of course, and then the season before that was in top 3. So PJC alone could really boost our chances with this new culture that we're building here.
100%. And, I mean, we've had a couple bombshells now already. Bryce Cotton, Kendrick Davis. Why don't we round it out with a third bombshell? PJC re-signs with the Breakers on a 5-year deal.
5 years? Jesus Christ.
I don't care. I want him around for good.
It is really hard to, I think, predict. And obviously we're going to save our predictions for
once all the teams are set.
Once the entire rosters are all set in stone, which will be, I don't know, August?
Couple months, yeah.
Probably August. Tassie signed someone, though. What was his name? The guy from the Toronto Raptors G League team.
He played for the Toronto Raptors G League team.
905.
The name passes me.
I'll be able to find it. I forgot his name, though.
Apparently a very, very impressive American point guard import, though. So
I watched a few videos, actually. Yes, Jordan Crawford obviously going to be heading out, which honestly, I think he did a really good job. I mean, he won Tassie a chip, which I thought was huge. Unfortunate that we won't see him back in a jersey. And Milton Doyle's still tossing up between a few teams I saw recently. I'm pretty sure it's between Tasmania and Melbourne.
He's going to be sticking in the NBL, though, for sure.
Well, he has aspirations of getting citizenship and playing for the Boomers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so,
same as Bryce Cotton. So he'll be sticking around.
Absolutely. I'm just really trying to... This is horrible prep from us.
This is poor. I should have wrote this down, because when I saw it, I sent it straight to Finn.
Someone Johnson.
He played for the Toronto...
Johnson, maybe?
He played for the Toronto Raptors G League team.
Yeah.
He also had a stint in the NBA. He played a couple games in the NBA. I think it was for the Thunder. But he's definitely going to be one to watch.
He looks really good. I think that's that Jordan Crawford replacement. I mean, man, Jordan Crawford was so good. Unfortunate. I think he's getting a bit older.
It's becoming like a thing with... I mean, it kind of has been a thing for a while, but just making sure one of your import spots is a good American point guard. That's almost like the recipe to a championship level team. Like, you look at Bryce Cotton, PJC, Kendrick Davis. I mean, this new guy on Tassie. That's kind of like the cornerstone of a team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of wanting success.
I mean, Melbourne had Ian Clark.
He's
around he came off the bench, but once again, if you look back at past NBL champions, I mean, you had, obviously, last season with Illawarra, Trey Kell, Tyler Harvey.
Yeah.
Season before that, Sydney. They had Jalen Adams. Yeah. I think Sydney won the year before. Jalen Adams. I think Melbourne as well.
We had Tassie in there, Jordan Crawford.
Oh, Tassie with Jordan Crawford, of course. And then I think Melbourne as well with Ian Clark. I think he was around that time as well. So, yeah, crazy. And obviously, Daly is sort of around that realm, I reckon, with the NBA experience.
More local guy, though.
Obviously, off to Sydney, who I think are going to be quite scary. I mean, you said DJ, Trez, and Bryce Cotton, best big three in the NBL. However, I think an underrated big three that we might see next season is obviously going to be Daly, Kendrick Davis, and Xavier Cooks, which is going to be a very scary big three with 2 Australians. So
for sure. Should we get into some NZNBL though, Finn?
We can.
There's only been 3 games so far this week. Again, we apologise. I think there's another couple games today. Of course, Bulls Tuatara tomorrow, which I'm going to be getting along to. But the games that have been on so far, Manawatu Jets. Dante Russo Nance is him.
Damn.
Game-winning three-pointer with like 2 seconds left on the clock over the Sharks. They win at 91-88. I think that added to his 21 points on the evening.
21.
So massive from him. The Phi, they got up against the Bulls. The Bulls have been they continue their slide.
Bit of a slide, yeah.
And the Phi, on the other hand, I think that's like their second or third game that they've won in a row now.
Pushing for that 6.
With
that Mojave King pickup, the Anzac Rosetto pickup as well, and the Sean Murphy pickup. I think obviously the 2 imports departed. They went for that local core. It's proving to be a bit of a difference maker, I think. Mojave King's been really promising. And you know what's funny? I'm on like a Facebook group, New Zealand Basketball, and people were making it evident that Mojave King is technically a local on the Tauranga Phi.
Born in Dunedin.
And a lot of players were asking, why have the Tall Blacks not given Mojave King the call?
Ooh,
I remember when he returned to the Breakers last season.
Yeah.
They interviewed him, I think it was on Stuff, and he made it evident that if the Tall Blacks came knocking, he would play.
Well, I think because also he was born in Dunedin, but he was raised in Australia. I think his dad was a coach.
I think he was 4 years old.
And I think his first aspirations were to be a boomer for Australia.
I think he has an Australian passport as well.
He does. So
it's dual citizen.
I think he was kind of hoping to wait out for that chance, but with all due respect, I think the
pretty good
Boomers are a
team.
very stacked team.
Now they are, yeah.
And I think on the Tall Blacks, I think he'd be definitely a good piece to have for us. But yeah, massive win for them, 87-82.
He's an NBA draft pick, man.
Exactly. It was like on that G League Ignite team was Scoot Henderson just dropping buckets.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Also, one thing to mention, that game was in Hamilton, Glowbox Arena in Hamilton. Home game for Tauranga.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, they played it in Hamilton. So I think that's adding to the... I've seen reports. They want to add an expansion.
Yeah, I
team
was
in
going to say,
Hamilton,
we
so-
can get into that maybe after we talk about these.
So, I
other
mean,
result-
obviously
other
they're
results.
testing the waters by playing a game there. Close to Franklin as well. So,
Yeah.
no, I think that would definitely be a prime place to have a team in Hamilton. I
Mm-hmm.
can't believe they don't have a team. What, like 5th biggest city in New Zealand?
Yeah.
Should definitely add a team down there. And then the last game of the round, Sharks.
Last game so far.
Last game so far. Sharks beat the Az 87-82.
Kalen Boone, continuing.
Yeah.
I think he started a bit slow, but I'd say in the last month or so, Kalen Boone, dare I say, has been booming. God, I'm so sorry. I've thrown out 2 of those this
Did you
episode.
say booning?
I said booming, but it's like sort of a play on words. I think he had 23 points, 13 rebounds,
And then in
0 assists.
in the first game this week as well, because they've played twice now already. He had 29 in that game as
Yeah.
well.
He's been
so
really good. Great player.
one to watch for our Fast Break Podcast MVP list, which, by the way, we're not going to do now live on the podcast because there's another 4 games to come this round. But we're off podcast. We're going to
Discuss.
deliberate who our top 3 are. And we will update you next week on the podcast. We'll do two weeks of top 3s
Yeah.
for the MVP rankings, so we're not missing a week.
Games that will be this weekend, which will all be said and done by the time the podcast is out, but some predictions will. The Wellington Saints hosting the Otago Nuggets this afternoon in about 2 hours' time. Who do you have winning?
Give me the Saints.
Yeah, I'm probably leaning towards the same page. I think the Saints came off a win, obviously, against the Tuatara up here, so bit of momentum. Otago do look pretty good at times. Obviously, no more Jose Perez in the league, but their other imports look pretty good. I mean, the Saints have Jordan Nata and Shea Lee, some very good locals, so
Yeah.
they look pretty good. We have the defending champs hosting the Hawke's Bay Hawks. I think this is a bit of a no-brainer here.
How can I go against the Rams?
Canterbury.
They just looked like the most dominant team all season long. I think
Yeah.
they're going to win it all at this
They
point.
could be three-peating, which is terrifying. A team honestly solely built on local talent as well when you really think about it. So, yeah, and then the big derby tomorrow afternoon in
It's gonna be
Pukekohe.
good fun.
Franklin Bulls, who honestly have just been on that slide, against the Auckland Tuatara, who are obviously coming off that loss against the Wellington Saints last week.
First game with Luther Muhammad, though. I think he was still getting into
He was pretty slow, eh?
Yeah.
Who do you have winning this? I think this is going to be a pretty close game.
I'm going to go with the Tuatara because, like I just mentioned, Luther Muhammad, he's on the team now. He struggled in his first game back, but that's to be expected. And in his second game back, he's playing his former team, the Franklin Bulls. So I think he's gonna go out there and he's gonna have a big game. Add 4 or 5 threes off the bench for Dylan Wilkie, and you have a recipe for success there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take the Tuatara in this one over the Bulls.
Yeah, I think I might be leaning similar as well, Will, with the Auckland Tuatara lineup, obviously. Tuark, Charles Pride, Rob Lowe, Tommy V, Luther Muhammad.
Yeah.
That's a really good starting 5.
And you got Zach Riley, Dill Wilkie, Nick
Ledger,
Barrow, Ledger,
C-Mac.
Fotu as well.
Fotu. I think Dan Fotu will be suiting up this week
They've
as
got
well.
a stacked team now.
They've got a great team. I think also Charles Pride and Boy Tuark are really settling in now. I think obviously we're in round 11 out of 16. So
Especially Charles.
Charles has been hooping recently.
He started off the season a little bit slow, but he seems to have found his shot. So
Yeah.
that's a scary sight for
I think it's
anyone
going to
in
be a
the
close game. I mean, you can't rule off Tay Hardy. Obviously, no Flynn Cameron has been a bit of a loss for Franklin this year. But Tobias Cameron has been stepping up, and so has the rest of that Bulls team. They've been pretty good. But
Tay Hardy's been good this year.
yeah, I was going to say Tay Hardy's been really good. So I think this is going to be an interesting game. I don't think they've played since... Was it the opening round that they played at the North Shore Event Centre?
We went to that game.
And they went down to the Bulls.
They did.
And a bit of a blowout, wasn't it?
They were missing Rob Lowe, Dave Hickey, and the imports were obviously still getting into full swing. But yeah, I think this is going to be a great game. Battle of the Bridge.
Battle of the Bombay. No, actually, that would be Chiefs first. Sorry.
I got to call you out, by the way, Finn. Obviously, you work for Sport Nation on the radio.
Uh-huh.
You just played me before a little clip of you doing one of your little voice breaks, and you just completely shat on Bombay and Pukekohe area for no reason
All
whatsoever.
I said was that I might be heading down to the game, but Pukekohe and Bombay is kind of scary.
Grow up, mate. Grow up. How dare you? Maybe Pukekohe, but Bombay. Just leave Bombay out of it.
All right. Sorry.
Nice little farming community.
Okay. Last game of the round, though, on King's birthday. The long weekend, of course. Hope you all enjoy it. Nelson Giants versus the Hawke's Bay Hawks in Nelson. Nelson have really picked up the slack since signing those new imports, getting Callum McRae in there as well.
And I'm going to take them. I'm going to go with the Nelson Giants.
Liam
I think they're on a bit of a...
Going to get a couple dunks, maybe. A few threes. Been shooting the lights out this year.
True. They're on a bit of a roll.
They are on a bit of a roll. I think they're going to miss out on the 6th, though. I think it's just a bit too late in the season.
Oh, for sure.
But, no, I'm really looking forward to it, of course. And some news that we have as well that I'm sure most people have seen, but recent guest, friend of the podcast, Dante Matakatia, he was teasing that he might have had some interest from other teams around the Sal's NBL, but he signed a contract for the rest of the season down in Hawke's Bay. So congratulations to Dante.
Well done, mate. Yeah, he told me he was just reaching out to a bunch of different coaches around the league. And he got in contact with the Hawke's Bay coach. They told him to fly down,
have a trial,
go join in with some of the trainings, the team trainings there and stuff. And they obviously liked what they saw. And they offered him his contract. So
excellent.
Congrats.
Happy for him. Very happy for him. And also, I want to, before we get into the NBA, of course, I just want to circle back on what we talked about earlier with the Tauranga Fire game and the Bulls playing in Hamilton.
Yeah.
Like you said, there has been those murmurs around the league that there's about 3 to 4, I don't know what the word's called, like entities, I think is the word, that are looking to add another team for expansion. Obviously, they let the Indian Panthers come in. It failed. However, it shows that there is a space for an 11th team in the NBL, and Hamilton has apparently been the front runner, one that has had the most traction.
Which makes sense the more you think about it.
Well, they used to have a team.
Yeah.
The Waikato Pistons. Pretty sure they were based in Hamilton.
Yeah.
How would you feel about a Hamilton team being added to the league?
I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like I said,
100%.
Big city in New Zealand. Well, by New Zealand standards,
yeah,
not global standards.
It's also the city of the future.
Yeah. I know you've said you're scared to go down there, Finn, but
you seem to be scared to go to a lot of places, go to Bombay and Pukekohe.
Finn James doesn't like to leave the nice comfort of the North Shore.
If I don't like going to Bombay or Pukekohe, then you will not catch me in Hamilton.
Fair enough. You definitely won't now.
It's not a bad place.
The Tron's all good, mate.
The Tron's fine. I've been down there.
And they could definitely support a team. So I think this is a no-brainer, but I'd like to see them add them with another team. Bring in 2 teams at once. Queenstown. Need it in Queenstown.
I honestly thought Queenstown would have been up next. I mean, they built a new stadium down there recently, I'm pretty sure.
Both these teams should have been ahead of the Indian Panthers from the get-go. So
I reckon they were promised loads of money from the Indian Panthers.
Time to right their wrongs of the whole Panthers.
Is there enough talent in New Zealand to fill out 2 more rosters, though? That is the only thing I might be a bit skeptical
I think there is.
They might
and even if it waters down the talent a little bit, it's still just giving more opportunities for players to grow and get better.
That's true.
I think there is.
I think Hamilton before Queenstown, though, makes sense.
Yeah,
personally.
because of size.
It's a bit more accessible as well.
And I mean, you got 2 teams in Auckland already, which is only like an hour's drive from Hamilton. That's going to be good for travel purposes. 3 teams in the close vicinity to each other, like we had this year for a short time.
Yeah, good point. No, I'd love to see it. I think it'd be a great spot for some more younger guys to get an opportunity, and especially with how talented some of these younger high school players are coming through the whole country's high school programs. I think this would be a great opportunity for some younger people to, dabble.
I mean, basketball's the fastest? I think it's between basketball and football, the fastest growing sports in New Zealand. So
yeah,
it's only going to get better, the talent coming through.
Would love to see it. Of course. The NBA playoffs in full swing. We have one half of the finals set in stone. The other, a ridiculously entertaining series. Should we start off by wrapping the Western Conference, where the Thunder defeated the Wolves in 5 games to advance to the NBA Finals, Will?
Yeah. SGA, Western Conference Finals, Magic Johnson MVP award.
Shock.
And the Eastern Conference one's named after Larry Bird, I believe. Based on their bloody great rivalry back in the 80s, 90s. But yeah, massive for the Thunder. I think I didn't see them. I obviously picked the Wolves in this one,
which was ridiculous.
In 7. I was on that Anthony Edwards bandwagon, like a few other people. But Shea, J-Dub, Chet, the whole rest of that supporting cast, Hardenstein. There's too many players to mention because they're just so stacked. They just proved why they've been the best team all season long. And I think for me, regardless of who meets them in the finals, the Thunder are our 2025 NBA champions, Finn.
Yeah.
I'm calling that now.
I'm also leaning towards that way. They're the best team in the NBA
by far.
By far. You don't win 68 games in a year if you have a bad team.
No.
Shea, despite having, in my opinion, sort of a slow-ish first couple rounds of the NBA playoffs, he really showed out in the Western Conference.
I think he averaged like 34 over the series.
Very good. He was very good.
There was that one game where the Wolves won by like 40, where they were able to shut him down, but they just didn't do that for the rest of the series. So
they just figured them out, right?
Lots to learn for the Wolves. But I've seen rumours.
No.
KD's obviously on the move. He ain't going back to Phoenix.
Oh, no, zero chance, bro.
There's now rumours of the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't know what they'd trade to get him. I don't think his value's that much.
Is Randall a part of that trade?
I think for contract purposes, you have to give up a big contract. But I don't think KD's value is insanely high just because of his age. Like, he's still a world-class player.
Yeah.
But, yeah, obviously nothing compared to, like, Giannis's trade value.
No, of course not.
It'll be interesting to see how they bounce back next season.
Yeah, and just touching on the Timberwolves in this series, it's just incredibly inconsistent. Julius Randle with a few
terrible series
stinkers, and honestly, despite being on the Anthony Edwards bandwagon, and
he was had a bad series.
Really average. I was quite surprised. I thought he was going to go out swinging.
Yeah.
I think it was game 3. I think he took 2 field goals and a half. I was like, your best player in the NBA Conference Finals cannot possibly be only taking 2 shots. And that game was still close.
Their best player in this series was Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah, probably.
Without a shadow of a doubt. He is so good.
He is a very good player. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker actually stepped up in a few of these games as well.
He did.
But yeah, honestly, I did expect the Thunder to win. I had them in 6 games. I really thought the Timberwolves were going to steal at least 2.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate that it didn't go as long as we wanted to, and I mean the Thunder essentially had a cakewalk. They had a
series.
They've had a cakewalk through the. They swept the Grizzlies, bro.
True. The Nuggets one was
the Nuggets series went to 7 games. So
yeah.
And I mean they played Aaron Gordon on one leg. So,
yeah.
But I mean essentially they've had a pretty easy run to the NBA Finals,
well,
despite the Nuggets series. But going into Game 7, I didn't have any doubt in my mind that they were going to win that game, and it was a block.
Really?
No, I honestly didn't.
Fact check that, guys. Someone go rewind back to whatever episode it was where we were predicting Game 7. I don't know about that, but I remember I picked the Nuggets in that, so L from me.
It's been a pretty big. I did pick the Thunder, didn't I?
You did pick the Thunder, but I don't think it was no doubt in my mind.
Okay.
Thunder were winning.
Well, I was obviously leaning towards them.
Yeah.
And with Aaron Gordon on a grade 2 hamstring injury, it was going to happen.
I think all in all, I'm going to throw both of us under the bus here, but we've had pretty poor predictions. Playoffs.
I think at the end of when the NBA finals are done and we have a crown champion, we should go back and have a look at our predictions and see where we went wrong.
Well, I mean, already, I remember who I picked to win it all. The Milwaukee Bucks. And how did that play out?
Mate, you had the Lakers in the final. I at least had the Thunder.
I had 2 teams that got first round bump.
I had the Thunder and the Celtics.
You had the Celtics winning.
And, well, Jason Tatum ruptured his Achilles.
Oh, bro, people who are saying this, that meant nothing. The Knicks were already winning that series.
Okay.
When he ruptured it, they were down 3-1.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The Knicks had won that series.
Okay, Eastern Conference Finals, though. Game 6 is tomorrow. It'll be... I mean, we could have the Pacers going through to the NBA Finals before this podcast even goes live. However, obviously, we're a little bit behind.
Day behind.
But in terms of our predictions for Game 6, where do you think it's going to go?
I think we obviously had 2 different predictions for who wins this series. Mm-hmm. I had the Pacers in 6.
Crazy.
You had the Knicks in 7. I think that tomorrow's game is going to determine that one of us is going to be correct.
Mm-hmm.
I think either the Pacers win, and I'm right, or the Knicks win, and then I don't see the Knicks losing Game 7 at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
So this is almost like a must-win game for the Pacers, in my opinion, and obviously the Knicks as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be cinema in Indiana. I think the Pacers are going to get the job done. Obviously, I'm going to stand by my prediction. They've looked like the better team all throughout this series. They're just too fast. They outpace the Knicks.
Outpace? Sorry.
Stop with these, buddy. But yeah, Halliburton's just looked like I got to say it.
Yeah, all right, hold on. Take the mic.
I've been shitting on Halliburton for most of the playoffs, ever since his little kerfuffle, is that a word? With Damian Lillard. Don't like him, but you got to admit when you're wrong. And Halliburton has been a demon these playoffs. He's looked phenomenal. He's had a couple stinker games, and that's why I'll stand by. I'm not putting him into the superstar category. I've seen there being debates with Stephen A. Smith and whatnot online about, is he a superstar? I don't think he's a superstar yet. I'm reserving that for the Lukas, the Shays, the Giannis, the Jokic, the LeBron even. I don't think he's in that category yet, but he has looked like an absolute world beater these playoffs. What he's been able to do with this Pacers team is phenomenal. I don't think anybody... Most people didn't have them winning round one. And then when they did get through, most people didn't have them beating the Cavs. And then they got through there. And then yet again, most people had the Knicks in this Eastern Conference Finals. And if they do win this, most people will have the Thunder again. They will have been underdogs in 4 series. And he's done it 3 times, is my prediction, after they win tomorrow. Who knows? If they did it again in the finals and they somehow beat OKC, then this might go down as one of the greatest single-handed championship runs of NBA history. It's up there with the Dirk Nowitzki 2011.
Yeah.
Was it 2011?
Yeah.
The Mavericks final run that he went on?
2011? 2010. 2011.
2010, maybe.
I'm
putting it up there with that, to be honest. It's been just insane.
Got to remember, though, Dirk was an MVP. Don't know if it was that year, but like around that time.
That just makes it even more impressive.
Tyrese
Hallie's not the MVP.
Okay.
It's
Are
insane.
you glad you got that off your chest?
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, the most important point from that is what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry to Halliburton fans, to Halliburton himself. I know he's going to watch this episode. Yeah, I'm sorry, mate. You're a good player. But yeah, you're not a superstar.
So, obviously they had the anonymous player voting poll, and he was voted the most overrated player in the NBA by other players.
Fueled them, bro.
If they go on to win an NBA championship, like you said, this is going to go down as like a generational run. Yeah. Just considering the rest of the NBA doesn't think this guy is good.
No.
I feel like a lot of fans in the NBA probably didn't think this guy was good.
No.
But he has proven every doubter wrong about how good he has single-handedly, in my opinion, despite obviously Jalen Brunson winning the Clutch Player of the Year award, the most clutch player in the NBA this year. In terms of his stats with clutch buckets, which is an absurd field goal percentage with clutch buckets. I've had my things to say about Halliburton as well. I feel like I toss and turn whether I think he's good or not, because one thing that he is he's a little bit inconsistent. Obviously, we look at last season. Pre-All-Star break looked unreal. Made the All-Star team. Shat the bed post-All-Star break. The season just gone, it was the complete opposite. Looked really average going up to the All-Star break. Post-All-Star break was in great form.
He wasn't even an All-Star this year.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, that is crazy.
He's carried it on into the NBA playoffs. And when you're putting up against the Knicks, who, like you said, probably the favorites going into the series, but in game 4, 30 points, 12 boards, and 15 assists on 0 turnovers.
That's the most insane of all.
4 steals.
Yeah.
That is a very good stat line. And you can't argue that.
No.
Obviously, the Pacers have built a great roster for playoff basketball. Tyrese Halliburton's the only reason these guys are winning games. Pascal Siakam's been really good, personally.
He's the main reason, though.
Andrew Nembhard, I'll keep saying it, has been a very good playoff riser when called upon. Aaron Nesmith as well saved them.
Single-handedly, he
saved
won
them in game 1
yeah.
with 8 3-pointers.
Like 5
Miles
straight.
Turner is going to do Miles Turner things.
Yeah.
Their
TJ
team is
McConnell's
good.
a little dog off the bench.
Their team is really good. I mean, even Ben Shepherd's been splashing it here and there.
They're good, but then you look at them on paper.
They're not as good as
the
the
Knicks, and they just have nowhere near the talent on paper.
No way.
But they just put it together on the court way better. And obviously the Knicks have like zesty old Karl Anthony Towns out there.
Who, honestly, I've been a little bit disappointed in this playoff.
Yeah.
I think he should have been better.
He started out this season phenomenal.
Really good.
Like MVP talks level. He was the best player on the Knicks over Jalen Brunson for sure, averaging like 28 and 12 a night. And it's just slowly been a bit of a decline over the season.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, this playoffs, I think he's only been averaging like 22 a game. So,
Game 6 tomorrow. We might have the NBA final set in stone by the time this goes up. I'm predicting that we're going to have a Game 7.
Ooh.
I said Knicks in 7 at the start of the series.
You think they complete the 3-1?
I think that they can do it. I think I'm on the same boat as you. If the Knicks win tomorrow and take Game 7 back to Madison Square Garden on all of that momentum, winning, 2 games in a row,
Yep.
I personally think they're going to be able to get it done. Jalen Brunson has been a demon in this series, despite them going down 3-1. He's averaging 34 a game. That is crazy good numbers. Jalen Brunson, I think he's a great player. I think he's really good. The rest of their team, like you said, on paper, is just far better. I guess we'll see, though. It's going to be very exciting regardless. Tyrese Halliburton, if he pulls out the choke celebration again, hilarious.
Right.
But one thing I will say, though, if anyone came up to me at the start of the NBA playoffs and said, like, someone from the future, and they're like, you're going to see the Oklahoma City Thunder in the finals, I'd be like, yeah, sweet. And the Indiana Pacers, I would have slapped the shit out of them.
You know what I would have done? I would have slapped $200 on the betting machine. Being like, cheers, mate. I'm a millionaire now. Because that would have been paying a ton.
Mm-hmm.
But
nobody could have predicted this.
Maybe we'll do a live update on the Fast Break podcast TikTok and Instagram account on our stories tomorrow of our reactions to how Game 6 turns out. So stay tuned for that, guys. But as always, thanks again for tuning into another episode, bit shorter this week. Next episode, next Sunday, we'll have the finals will be underway.
They'll be underway.
So we'll see. OKC versus Pacers or OKC versus Knicks. Yet to be decided. Thanks again for tuning in.